What if every winter you guarded an empty town, and one January you opened a stranger's door and found yourself asleep in the bed? I'm Silas Mortis. I dig through the dark web for horror that actually happened, and I read the worst of it back to you. Tonight's came off a deleted No Sleep thread. A caretaker up in Ganges, Michigan, saved a copy and emailed it to me the week before he stopped answering. He asked me to keep his exact words, so these are his, not mine. Now, let's get into the story. Ganges empties the way a lung empties. Every October, the last minivan pulls onto M89 with kayaks strapped to the roof and a kid pressing gummy fingers to the back glass, and the town lets out one long breath. 90 families gone down the highway toward Chicago and Grand Rapids, and wherever people drive to be warm and to forget. Then it's just me and the lake and the furnace. I take the keys off the pegboard in the maintenance shed. 90 keys, each on a loop of baling wire, each labeled in strips of masking tape gone yellow and curling. The handwriting isn't mine. It belonged to the fellow before me, Earl, the checkbook said, though I never met an Earl. Holland, Prout, Vance, Lakeside 6. I run the furnace loop 3 times a day so the pipes in 90 empty kitchens don't freeze and split. That's the whole job. Keep the town warm for people who aren't in it. The coffee can on the shelf holds my pay. 20s, rolled tight, replaced sometime in the dark between 1 week and the next. I never see who leaves it. I stopped wondering. When the snow comes in November, you stop wondering about a lot of things, because the wondering has nothing to push against. It's just you and the wind off Lake Michigan sanding the shingles and the furnace ticking like a second heart under the floor. I liked it. That's the part nobody believes. I liked the quiet. The first footprints showed up the second week of December. I came out at dawn to shovel the shed steps, and there they were, crossing the fresh 6 inches from the tree line to the Pruitt place and back. One set, boots, a man's stride. Snow still falling into them, softening the edges. I stood there with my breath hanging and I thought, squatter. Somebody riding out the cold in an empty summer house, burning the Pruitt's firewood, and who could blame him? So I followed the prints to the Pruitt door, and the door was locked. Deadbolt thrown. Snow banked clean and unbroken on the sill, no scuff, no gap. Whoever made those boot prints had walked up to a locked house and then not gone in, and then walked away. And the walking away print stopped halfway across the yard, like the man had simply been lifted off the ground. I told myself the wind took the rest of them. Wind does that. Wind fills a track in 20 minutes if it wants to. That's what I told myself all the way back to the shed, where I noticed the second thing. The population sign. You've passed 100 of them. Green rectangle at the town line, white letters bolted on. Ganges, Pop, 412. It had said 412 the day the last family left. I'd have sworn on it. But driving the plow past it that afternoon, I looked up and it said 413, and the new digit was the same faded green-white as the others. No fresh bolt shine, no ladder marks in the snow beneath it, like it had always been 413 and I'd misremembered. I laughed, out loud, alone in the cab. That's how you know you've been by yourself too long. You start correcting your own memory to make the world behave. By Christmas, it said 414. I did the math a machine can't argue with. 90 houses. I'd walked past all of them. Curtains drawn, cars gone, driveways smooth as poured cream. There was no one in Ganges to count but me, and I am one man, and one man is not a rising number. I decided to check the houses, all of them. Told myself it was maintenance, pipe inspection, you understand, entirely reasonable. And I took the pegboard keys and started the north end, and I worked south, and every house was cold and dim and dust-sheeted and empty, and I felt my shoulders come down from around my ears because empty was good. Empty was the job. Then I opened the Hollands, warm, not furnace warm, body warm, that thick, close warmth of a room where people are sleeping, and the smell of it, skin and breath and somebody's shampoo. And I stood in that front hall with the key still in my hand, and I heard from upstairs the small, wet sound of a person turning over in a bed. I want to be honest about what I thought, because you deserve the truth, even when the truth makes me a coward. I thought hikers, kids who broke into party and passed out. I even felt relief, a human explanation, something with a name and a phone number and a set of parents. I went up the stairs and I pushed the bedroom door, and there were the Hollands. Ted and Susan Holland, in their own bed, under their own quilt, the one with the loom pattern I'd seen airing on their line in July, asleep. On their backs, hands folded on the covers like people laid out, except laid out people don't breathe, and they were breathing, slow, deep, the quilt lifting and settling. And across their faces, their eyelashes, the gray in Ted's beard, lay a fine white frost. Not frostbite, frost, like the inside of a freezer window, like the whole warm room had been breathed out around two people made of December. I said their names. I shook Ted's shoulder, and it was warm through the frost and firm, alive, and he did not so much as flinch. I put 2 fingers to Susan's throat, and her pulse came up against them slow and strong, maybe 40 beats a minute, the heart rate of a sleeping bear. They were fine. That's the horror of it. Every instinct I had was screaming dead, dying, hypothermia, call somebody, and every fact under my hand said fine, warm, resting, will not wake. I ran the furnace loop that night with my hands shaking, and I want you to understand what I understood, standing at the boiler with the roar of it in my teeth. The furnace wasn't keeping the pipes from freezing. The furnace was keeping them warm. All of them, in their beds. However many of them there were. I went house to house again, and this time I opened every bedroom door and I found them. Not all 90 families, not yet. But the Pruitts, frost on their 4-year-old's cheek, old man Vance alone in the Lakeside 6 cottage, snow-white eyebrows, a smile on him. The Delgados, all 5, in a row on the floor of the great room like a family portrait taken lying down, sleeping, breathing, held. That's what the sign said the morning I finally decided to leave. I packed the truck. I want that on the record. I turned the key and the engine turned over, and I put it in reverse and back to the top of the drive, and I looked at the town in my mirror, the snow, the 90 roofs, the smoke standing straight up out of my one furnace chimney into a sky the color of a dead TV, and I could not make my foot come off the brake. It wasn't fear that stopped me. I've thought about this a long time. It was the count. 90 houses and however many sleepers and me, and something in me needed numbers to close before I ran, the way you can't leave a room with a faucet dripping. So I told myself, count them. Count them right. Then go. I counted the houses, 90. I counted the sleepers, door by door, and my own breath frosting now in rooms warm as a held hand, and I counted 88 of them, and there were 2 houses left I had never once opened in all my winters here. The maintenance shed where I slept, and the little green cottage behind it that I'd always called mine, the one whose key on the pegboard read in that dead man's masking tape hand, a name I had walked past 1,000 times without reading. I read it now. It said my name. I went in. Of course I went in. You'd have gone in too, don't tell me you wouldn't. The cottage was warm. The cottage smelled like skin and breath. And I climbed the stairs on legs that weren't taking orders anymore, and I pushed the door, and there in the bed under a quilt I recognized, I have owned that quilt my whole life, was a man on his back with his hands folded, breathing slow, frost on his lashes. Me, my face, my gray, my hands, the split thumbnail from the plow last winter, healed on him, not on me, warm and breathing and waiting. And I understood the sign at last. I understood why it climbed while the town stayed empty. It wasn't counting the summer people. They come and go. The town doesn't need to count what leaves. It counts what it keeps. And it was keeping 2 of me. The one in the bed, the one who would wake in May and stretch and drive down to the city tan and laughing and remembering nothing, remembering no winter at all. And the other one, the one who shovels, the one who feeds the furnace so the sleepers stay warm, the one who is awake all winter with the wind because somebody has to be, and it is never ever the one in the bed. That's the 2 of me on the sign. That's the twice I count myself. Not madness, arithmetic. I have tried to wake him, my own sleeping face, and I've shaken it and screamed into it and pressed my thumb to its slow, strong pulse, and it will not open its eyes because it isn't time. And the only clock that runs this town is the calendar of the lake. In May, they came back. I watched from the tree line, the minivans, the kayaks, the gummy fingers on the glass. The Hollands stepped out of their SUV, tan and unfrosted, and laughing about traffic on the skyway, and Susan looked right at the tree where I stood and did not see me, because you cannot see the man who winters here. He isn't a resident. He's part of the furnace. And my sleeping self woke. I saw it happen through the cottage window. Sat up, yawned, scrubbed its frost-free face, walked down and got in my truck and backed out of my drive with my split thumbnail healed. And it did not come off the brake because it was afraid. It came off easy, whistling, and drove down M89 into a summer it would enjoy and a life it would live, thinking it had spent the winter somewhere warm. The sign as it passed said Pop, 414. One of me had left, you see. The one that gets to. I'm still here. It's July as I type this on the shed's old laptop, and the town is full and loud and none of them can see me, and I am not lonely exactly, I am counted. In October the vans will pull out, the lung will empty. The last thing I'll do before the quiet comes down is take the keys off the pegboard and add a strip of masking tape to the newest one and write on it in a hand that will someday look dead to whoever reads it next. My name. Because there has to be someone awake to keep the sleepers warm. And it is never the one in the bed. If this one put a chill in you, do me a favor and hit that like button. It's the single biggest thing that tells YouTube to push this story in front of the next person scrolling past in the dark. Subscribe while you're down there. I bring you a new true one out of the deep web every single day. And share this with somebody who thinks small towns are safe in the winter. Thank you for listening and for watching. There's another story already waiting for you on your screen right now. Go on, it's recommended for a reason. I'm Silas Mortis, sleep light, and I'll see you back here tomorrow